You know, I was stuck on the line about the way the freeze framing the moon for the song we just heard. If you're just listening to this online and it's just the talk, that won't make any sense. But it was a song called Hang Among the Stars, and it was beautifully sung by the Prairie Girls, right? Okay. And it talks about hanging among the stars with people. And part of what we do here at the Center for Spiritual Living is kind of that. It is, we raise our consciousness as high as we can. We shoot beyond the moon, knowing that the moon and the energies of the moon are actually pulling us all together. There is a natural law that is at work here, whether you are here physically or not, that is pulling us all together so that we can share in the one mind that is our truth. The God being that is living in your skin right now wants like-minded people around you. People who will help you rise up instead of fall down or dig yourself deeper. Anybody else praying that they will stop digging soon? It feels like I am seeing and experiencing some people in crisis lately, and as we come out of our homes and try and stay out of our homes, please God, let's not do another variant. What the challenge is who are we, having been through the transformative opportunity of 2020, who are we now? And your spiritual community will help you answer that with something beautiful rather than something based on our fears, yes? So the Center for Spiritual Living, for our new members, as this is New Member Sunday, this is the beginning of this part of your path. We don't have any 10-minute-old infants joining us. And so I am willing to believe that even our new members have some life experience, yes? And for some of us, even if they were only 10 minutes old, there's all those past lives. So as we choose to walk together, it's important that we share our values, that we share our uniqueness, that we share who we are in all of its glory, even if we're really working very hard not to show anyone that glory. Even if we're trying to deny our magnificence because it can be scary to stand up and be seen, we come here because it's a safe place to be your most magnificent self, to let the divine show up as you with all of the love that it has as you shining through you. So it seems to me that we should start with some basics for our newbies and maybe review some basics for those who have been here for a while. Normally in January, I go back to the introduction to our textbook and base all my talks on that. Well, think of this as a whole new year starting in July, because I'm done with 2021 too. There is a song, an old gospel song that goes, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Usually it's sung on Jesus, but with us, we generally go to stayed on spirit. We wake up when we can keep our attention on the divine. There is a beauty and a joy and a grace that happens when we can stay focused on where we're going rather than getting, all these little side trips we can do, all these little trips into hell that maybe we take. Or even just, purgatory, or whatever we're calling limbo now. We can choose to keep our attention on the divine no matter what is going on around us. When we wake up in the morning with our mind stayed on spirit, what we're doing is setting up our day to be spirit-based, setting up our day to enjoy all of the prosperity that we can possibly stand. Ernest Holmes used to do a thing about, are you going to go to the fountain of life itself with a thimble or a bucket? We only can take in as much as we are willing to receive. And so he would talk about, you got to go with this little thing, you got to go with a big thing. I have, for some reason, always thought I'm going with a bathing suit. Because why should I ever get out? Why should I not be filled every single day with the divine as me? Now, when we are true to who we are, it's much easier to find that divine being. When we wake up and realize that, this is for me and this is not for me. This is mine to do and this is not mine to do. When we wake up to that, it's much easier to wake up in the morning happy that you actually woke up and that you're on the theoretically correct side of the grass. Or this is Arizona, the rocks. So if you are new to this, what you're going to find as you start practicing creating your day each day is what we call the princes, palaces, and parking spaces phase. Princes or princesses, whatever you prefer, palaces, and parking places. You will find as you start to practice this teaching that all of a sudden when you need a parking space, it's there. You will find that the house you wanted just shows up in your lap. Well, hopefully not physically in your lap. That would hurt. You will find, I don't know why, but this center in particular is really, it's just something that happens. People show up here on a Sunday and say, yeah, we're going to go house hunting after this. And they come back the following week and tell us we found the house that afternoon and we're already in escrow. Or they come in and say, it's time for me to move on. I'm going to have to sell my house. And in one case, before she could even get it on the market, it was sold. These things just happen here. Those are the palaces. And of course, the love of your life. The people that, whether it's a romantic thing or a friendship thing, the people that are your chosen family start showing up. Now, fair warning, some of the people who are not good for you in the present state of your relationship might leave. The relationship may shift, they may grow with you, or you might just find that you're not interested in hanging with them anymore, given the old rules of relationship. That is why our foundation course is so transformative, and I take a deep breath and think about it hard before I let married couples do the class together. Sometimes it goes really, really well, and it rekindles a romance that was already epic. Sometimes, not so much. If you're going to create your day, and it does work, guys, I would encourage you to just try it as an experiment. Pick something random, butterflies, elephants, it doesn't matter. And decide that this week, you want proof from the divine within you that it is paying attention by showing up as that one weird thing. It got to the point where I couldn't go anywhere without finding elephants. I don't know how to turn this particular experiment off. In my family, whenever I got a bill that I was me about because I forgot how this all works, my sister would tell me, go out and check the mailbox. And sure as God made little green apples, there would be a check right there. I had a friend who was a practitioner back in Southern California who was in his car and on his way to his landlord's place going, I need some money because I haven't got the rent. And if I tell my landlord that again, I'm in big trouble. And I need that money before I hit the highway, which was like 3 blocks up. He suddenly realized he was right behind one of his best friends who owed him some money. So while they were at the red light, he got out of his car and said, hey, John. And John said, oh, yeah, I was just coming to give it to you, and pulled out a wad of cash. I'm not even kidding. That particular practitioner friend of mine, he's a powerful prayer. I would tell you his other best demonstration, but it involves some frat poisons, some boys, and some barbecue sauce, and that's not for here. Anyway, what's important to remember is that while this part is fun and it's a great faith builder, it is not the point. It's a hoot to always get a good parking space. It's a hoot to be actually to be the one everybody took Christmas shopping, because I would have a parking space at the mall right up front, no matter what mall it was. And I would find the car afterwards. The point of being on this spiritual journey is always to come home to ourselves. It is always to wake up in the morning realizing that we are more and more aware of always having been surrounded by spirit, that our mind is always stayed on spirit, and that is the greatest prize of all. What if you could wake up in the morning and no matter what happened around you, there was a part of you that was just happy as a clam, that was peaceful, that absolutely trusted that you had the best friend in the entire world, namely the entire world. Kind of like the genie in Aladdin, you ain't never had a friend like me. You have never experienced fully what it's like to be loved until you have experienced oneness with the divine, and each and every person here has that capacity within them. Sometimes it's hard to see. Sometimes it's hard to find in the mirror. It's really easy to look out and say, oh, you know, that one, I love that one. They're always so cheerful. They're so powerful. They're such a great person. It's a little harder to find it in the mirror sometimes. And so that is why we keep coming back to places like this and taking classes in order to help not make spirit be close to us, but remove the blinders from our eyes. Remove all of the... A Course in Miracle talks about how that particular course is not about finding a path to love so much as removing the obstacles that keep love from flowing through us constantly. So one of the things we have done here at the Center for Spiritual Living Prescott is define our values so that we have kind of a signpost along the way. Our 4 primary values are love and joy, inclusivity, and spiritual growth. Now, I went back to the glossary of our textbook to find good definitions. I'm 2 for 2. Because oddly enough, Ernest Holmes never had to deal with the issue of inclusivity. That's not a word he would have talked about, although he did deal with the issue. He says, to start off, love is the self-givingness of the spirit through the desire of life to express itself in terms of creation. He liked words. Love is God wanting to create and loving its creation, which, by the way, is you guys and me and you guys. He goes on to say, love is free from condemnation, even as it is free from fear. Love is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. So love is going to have its way with you whether you want to or not. At some point, you are going to wake up in the morning with your mind stayed in spirit, and the only decision you really get to make is, when is that going to happen? When are you going to wake up to your own magnificence? When are you going to admit that you know that you are the Christ itself? It might take us each a while to let go of our wounding or our scars in order to do that. Love is another name for God in the Center for Spiritual Living. It's just one of the names we use. We don't stick with just one name for God because, A, even us humans have had multiple names over our lifetimes, yeah? And those change based on our needs. And B, the divine being is too big to fit into any one name or one gender or one color or part of the world or even planet. The divine is infinite love. And the mind boggles when it tries to hang out in the infinite. Our next one is joy. The glossary says that that joy is the emotion excited by the expectancy of good, and it also says gladness, delight, exultation. Now, there's a class coming up this fall that talks about living in joy. If you wake up with your mind stayed on spirit, you will find joy. There's a difference, however, between joy and happiness. Happy is, psych, I just got the last donut. Or, you know, grandma's coming for Christmas. Or something, you know, my favorite server is there and their new special is my favorite food at this restaurant. Restaurant, because then you don't have to do the dishes either. Joy is an energy that lives in you no matter what is going on around you. Joy is, honestly, ministry has to be joy instead of happiness, or people wouldn't stay in it. It is the presence of God being felt as exaltation. It is the presence of the divine being recognized in our own hearts. And it does not depend on how many people show up here, on how much you get paid, on whether your boyfriend-girlfriend polyamorous relationship is Ken and Barbie. It doesn't really matter what's going on around you. It's something deeper than that cannot be shaken when the rest of the world says, ew, it's morning. I'm sure it's Monday morning too. So the next part is, the next two values that we talk about are inclusivity and spiritual growth. The first two, love and joy, are our being values. This is how I break it up. These are the being values. This is who we be. Spiritual growth and inclusivity is what we do. Inclusivity is something that I feel strongly about, that even in this town that doesn't have a lot of ethnicity diversity, we have a lot of different ages, we have a lot of different opinions, we have a lot of different places where we are in our spiritual growth. We have a lot of different music types that people love. We have, and you know, now that we're online, it's even more diverse, these people that are part of the Center for Spiritual Living Prescott. And so part of the reason I was hired 11 plus years ago was because we wanted more diversity. And you get diversity by practicing inclusivity. It is not a passive thing. It is where we purposely have people, well, he's not here this weekend, he is in Minnesota enjoying all of the dairy products. He told me so before he left. He's over there signing the service, not because we have a large hard of hearing and deaf population, but because we can create one. A population of people who can be served by this teaching, and if they come here, they'll be able to understand what I'm saying, no matter how fast I rattle off names. We have books in Spanish, and I have, over the years, tried to get to creating a Spanish-speaking ministry. Now, that's not going to do most of you guys any good whatsoever. But there are a lot of people in this town and online who deserve to know about these tools and how magnificent they are. And so we go out of our way, we leave our comfort zone to try and open these doors to as many people as possible. When I was first hired, the joke was that I was brought in to euthanize the congregation. What they meant was bring down the median age, not euthanize. So some of the stuff we did was in the staff bathroom, which is the one over by the offices, there's a changing table. And we have stuff to change the kids into if they need it. We started putting money in the budget for the youth program. And it has grown. I know that right now, that and everything else about most centers is a little on the sparse side. But it has grown over the years. And it has become a truly amazing program that the kids named the Children's Association of Awesomeness, and it is a very apt name. The last one is spiritual growth. And the thing I warn people about is that growth has ow in the middle of it. You might have some growing pains. You might experience some cognitive dissonance, also known as confusion and discomfort, as we grow spiritually. But if we're willing to embrace that, if we're willing to say, okay, things are a little weird right now, and hello, things are a little weird right now in this country, right? If we're willing to embrace that and believe that Spirit is still fully present, Spirit still loves all of us, no matter who is doing what, no matter what opinions we might have about their shorts or their haircut or whatever, if we can stay centered and trust that this is spiritual growth, no matter what happens out there, we get to keep the joy. And that is the practice that we do together. That's why we have classes. That's why we meditate together. That's why we pray together. That's why we have practitioners who will help us along the way. And the big thing that we need to remember is that all of that growth is leading somewhere. Ernest Holmes once wrote, and I ask you to take this in, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God-ordained. Thus, the inherent nature of man, was written 100 years ago, the inherent nature of man is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. Our evolution is naturally toward greater and greater freedom. Greater and greater freedom from discord, greater and greater freedom from false beliefs, greater and greater freedom from the ultimate lie that says that we are separate from God or somehow unworthy of our oneness with our own Christed self. And he finishes that by saying, we do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, and a freedom which the soul craves. And so one of our most powerful tools is prayer, and I choose to pray from here because we are all on an equal level playing field. And so in this moment, however you go within, whether you close your eyes, whether you just get comfortable, whether you stand, sit, or kneel, it doesn't really matter to me. I invite you to join me in the one mind where we remember, where we become aware that God, this thing we call God, this infinite being, this infinite life, the infinite love, is actually the only thing there is. It is the only power and presence in this universe that has taken on this universe as its physical form. The physical form of every being within this universe. There is no second power. There is nothing trying to separate us from the divine within us. There is only the one. There is only being still a knowing with all that we are, that the spirit of love and life itself is moving around in our skin on this planet. And so I declare a whole new morning, a whole new day in which we awaken to our magnificence. We awaken to our spiritual magnificence and realize that the old beliefs in poverty, in being put down, in disenfranchisement, in being less than, all of those are nothing. They're just bad dreams we had. And the truth of our being is the light of truth itself, and it is that we are all completely taken care of. We manifest everything we need or even want as spiritual beings who recognize that we can have all the good and share it with our brothers and sisters in the Christ consciousness without any worry about not enough. I celebrate and bless that this is the truth about spirit, not just about us individually, but us collectively and us cosmically. That the truth about spirit is its ultimate good, and the way it works is automatically and naturally according to the law of cause and effect. And having placed a cause using this word into the law, I now trust it completely and release it to do its work and eagerly await the demonstration. I call it all good and very good, and so it is.